Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Outlier. I'm your host, Lauren Conlin. Special episode today, a returning guest, one of my favorites, legal analyst Beth Karas. You've seen Beth everywhere. I mean, not only was she a DA, but she was on Court TV. Now she's all over Oxygen, all over ID and Max. My goodness, you are literally everywhere, Beth. But what we're going to talk about today is a new show, a 3-part series that comes out today, July 15th. This is crazy. I mean, if you have not heard of this, you need to watch this. The Black Widower, the 6 Wives of Thomas Randolph. This is not a name that most people would know unless you were in the true crime community. But I think everyone should know about this guy, Beth. I don't know about you, but give us a quick minute or two rundown about why this show on ID tells us the story that we maybe haven't heard before.
Thomas Randolph is a man who falls in love a lot. He falls deep, he falls hard, but he's not loyal to any of his wives. He's a man who's been married 6 times. People can relate to multiple marriages. They can, women can relate to a man who's a cheater, but this guy's a serial cheater and a serial husband, right? And he takes out 1 or more life insurance policies on his wives. And, 4 of them are dead today. Now, 1 died of cancer after they divorced. It was a short-lived flash in the pan marriage. That was his 3rd one. Yes. But, and his first one was a very, very young marriage. I mean, they were like, he was 20, she was 18 or so. They had a couple kids and it just didn't work out. So she's alive.
Yes.
But, wife number 2, the relationship fell apart and she ends up dead with a bullet in the head. And wife number 4, he says, is the love of his life, but she had surgery and, she's recovering in the hospital, and her daughter from another marriage is visiting with her. And then she leaves the room and he's there with her for 45 minutes to an hour. And all of a sudden, mom is dead. His wife is dead. Weird. Wife number 5 splits when a gun goes off in the kitchen as he's cleaning a gun that she feels might have been meant for her and to be an accidental, shooting, killing. Yep. And then wife number 6 ends up dead by a hitman who Thomas Randolph, then kills. So what's fascinating about this story is he marries a lot of times, takes out lots of insurance policies and collects on them for many times. And he seems to be complicit. I mean, he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
I call him a creep in the series. He's a creep.
Yeah.
We would admit that because he's a cheater.
Yeah.
And he's just, he claims he loves these women, but come on,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So it's interesting because he was only convicted in 2023. It was 2024, I want to say, very recently.
Yeah, but that was the 2nd time for wife number 6.
Okay.
Who will be the final wife when he's outside in the free world, right? I mean, I guess he could marry in prison, but wife number 6, sure. he was tried. I mean, okay, let me just go back up. I was at O.J. Simpson's hotel robbery kidnapping case in 2008. Was it 2008 when Randolph got arrested because Randolph hired the same attorney that O.J. had, Yale Galanter.
In Nevada, yes.
And I was in I was in the local counsel's office, and Yale was there. We're talking about Thomas Randolph, and I was like, oh my God, I got to follow this case. And I sort of loosely followed it, but never, I wasn't in the courtroom for his first trial for wife number 6. It took years because he ended up going through many, many sets of lawyers, right? Yale Galanter didn't try the case. And he was convicted, but at that first trial, the judge allowed in evidence of
Becky,
second wife's killing. Yeah, Becky.
Yeah.
And he was charged with killing her, but he was acquitted because jurors really, they couldn't decide if she killed herself or he killed her. So there's reasonable doubt. And because he's convicted at the first trial, but because jurors heard about Becky's death that he was acquitted of, the case got reversed. The conviction got reversed and sent back for a new trial. So that second trial is what you're talking about, where he was recently convicted without the evidence of Becky's death, which made it harder. It was more of a challenge. It was a new set of prosecutors. It was a new defense team, a new judge for the retrial, and no mention of Becky. So no pattern.
Yeah. Right.
And he was still convicted. So.
Yeah, that gave me Harvey Weinstein vibes a little bit. I was like, about the prosecution let in all these witnesses that maybe shouldn't have been let in. I hate commenting on Harvey. It's kind of like a lose-lose situation there. But it did give me those vibes. But super interesting, Beth. I want to go back to Thomas Randolph. His wife, I believe it was Frances Thomas. This was his third wife. And fourth. Right? Okay, fourth wife. Yes. So this is crazy. And obviously the death of Becky is awful. And, the death of Sharon, who he's in prison for, is very awful. But this is interesting to me because Frances had surgery. She had heart surgery. And like you said, her daughter saw her. She was totally fine. Thomas allegedly had pushed her to have this surgery when it could have waited. And during this time, he took out a life insurance policy. He collected on it after she died. But her daughter said, yes, she's fine. She's sitting in her hospital bed after the surgery. Thomas essentially is alone with her for how many minutes? And then her daughter comes back and her mother has died. And now this was in Utah. This wasn't in Nevada. And I looked up some of the laws and I guess an autopsy is not necessarily required in Utah unless a medical examiner, on duty in the hospital or a DA pushes for it. Is that right?
Yeah, well, typically like in a hospital, because you're in a hospital setting, you're there for a reason, and these things happen. People die in the in the operating table, whatever. So it's not as common for it. You have to have a reason. Like if she had been on, I don't know, like some sort of oxygen or something helping to keep her alive, and all of a sudden it's unplugged. It's like, wait a second, who did that? So that's not the situation here. I mean, all of a sudden she dies and she was recovering from surgery, and things can happen. So I'm not surprised that there wasn't an autopsy, but he went and had her cremated. And then he sued the hospital and he got a settlement.
Which was crazy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the hospital probably, I can't really speak for the hospital, but I'll tell you what I think probably happened is it's just cheaper for them to give them couple $100,000 whatever they paid, then go to trial and litigate it and spend time, because it's, you just don't know what happened. Things happen. People just have heart attacks and whatever, strokes, blood clots,
Right.
So, there are risks involved with surgery. There's a reason why we sign informed consent to learn about, the risks that are involved, because there's just you get anesthesia, there's a risk of dying. She was on the road to recovery, but depending on which side you're talking to, his side makes it sound like Frances was really she was declining. She had to have this heart surgery because she just didn't have as much energy and her heart just wasn't working as well. But you talk to the other side and it was like, no, this was elective. She lived with it all her life. At some point she had to have it, but he really pushed her to have it.
Yeah. He knew something. He had this plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Time's up. I need some money. So I need to collect on an insurance policy,
Yeah. And to be clear, I don't actually know for a fact that there was no autopsy. That's not really information that's out there. I'm assuming that because in my mind, I just went straight for he suffocated her, and that's
where you're right about that. I think you're right about that there wasn't. But I guess I should go back to the records. But I'm pretty sure no autopsy. She was cremated, and he sued the hospital.
Yeah, and it's important to note this guy was worth over $1 million with all of this money combined, all of the life insurance policies and everything. And one of his wives, it was either Catherine Thomas or maybe it was Gaina, who said that he had mental problems. They knew he was crazy from the start, or he was just very not with it, I guess.
Well, he's definitely a narcissist. You can tell that by looking at him. And he talked himself into a hole with that police tape that he made, after Sharon is killed and he comes upon the scene, right? They've just returned from dinner celebrating, I think, an anniversary. And she goes in the house first, and it was already arranged that a guy who was a handyman around the house would be in there to kill her. He was going to get a payoff from Thomas Randolph. Yes. And then, Mike Miller's his name. He shoots Sharon, and then Randolph was parking the car in the garage, runs into the hallway from the garage and shoots Mike Miller. So he shoots the witness who can't turn on him, because in the case of Becky,
Yes.
had allegedly hired his assistant or a handyman friend, Eric Tarantino, to do the same thing to Becky. And Tarantino did not want to do it and ended up testifying at Randolph's first trial for the murder of Sharon and Mike Miller. And he said, yeah, this is what he wanted me to do. I'm sure he told Mike Miller to do the same thing, because Mike Miller had told his brother he was going to be coming into some money. It's like, how does that happen? Because he was going to kill Sharon and get a payoff. But the jurors didn't hear about Eric Tarantino and the being hired as a hitman in Becky's killing years earlier for the second trial, because that's why it was reversed.
Yeah. And when I say that, so there have been specials on this, and I should have said this before. Like, I think there have been a handful of other specials, but it is just interesting that it seems like not everybody knows about this guy. And I guess when I saw this, I'm just like, this is such a crazy story. And there has to be so many crazy stories like this that we just don't know about and we don't hear about. It's almost like fiction. It's so nuts.
Yeah. No, you're right. There are, I mean, this country is the world's full of crazy stories. Yeah. And the ones that get a lot of profile, they get picked up by, like TV or Law and Crime, or, ID may do a show on them, and, then they kind of catch on and everybody's watching it. But, I mean, Karen Reed's case started really small, but then Alan Jackson got hired, and he's a high profile defense attorney, and he knows how to market. And, next thing you know,
right. Well, so what I was going to say, though, I actually I disagree in the sense that I think that, yes, Court TV, Law and Crime, I'm a huge watcher, I'm a huge follower, but some of my friends or my husband, let's say, they're not gonna really notice anything until TMZ, the New York Post, people like you said, till they pick it up, which is what happened with Karen Reed. So I think it's got to be these non Law and Crime, Court TV channels I think it really has to be. So I'm waiting, and I think it's going to happen this week probably, for people or the New York Post to pick up what ID has put together here for Max, because it's really, really creepy, really well done. Really, I hate saying entertaining because I feel horrible. That's a horrible thing to say, because, these women, they lost their lives at the hands of this horrible man, but it does keep you very, very interested because he's so scary.
That the true crime audience it skews female. Yeah. And there are psychologists who say that one of the reasons is that we as women, we just kind of know innately that we are more likely to be victims of violent crime, whether it's stranger or, domestic. And watching these stories, especially this kind of story like Thomas Randolph, can, maybe help women recognize some red flags. Like, what? You mean you took out 3 insurance policies on me? I didn't know about that. Like, just what to be aware of, because women seem to be fascinated with a lot of these. And I know when I was 19 years at Court TV, I covered a lot of husbands killing their wives.
Yeah. I mean, no, you're absolutely right. He definitely has all of the red flags that hopefully can help people stay away and avoid men like that. And like I said, I find it, when I say entertaining, I just find the ridiculous stuff coming out of his mouth entertaining, I guess, because it's so crazy when he talks about his sex life. It's gross, but I can't look away.
Okay, so why don't I give you a better adjective than
yes, please.
Let's call it engaging. Okay?
Engaging. Okay, yes. It's engaging. Thank you so much. No, it is, because I'm just like, this guy he's saying the most ridiculous things. And I like I said, it's like a car wreck. I can't look away, but it's so creepy.
Yeah. Well, my father, well, I don't want to tell stories about my father, but he used to watch Jerry Springer, and he was disgusted with Jerry Springer. He's like, I can't believe he puts that stuff on TV. I said, what are you watching it for? You're helping the ratings. Don't watch it, So.
But it's just one of those things. And you and I have discussed this before about trying to compartmentalize some of these horrific crimes that we watch, and these crimes against women, crimes against children. And it's so difficult. And I found myself the other day, I was like, I need a break. I'm walking down the street, Beth, and I'm sizing up men, and making a strategy in my head what I would do if they attacked me. And then
Wow.
this huge, and that's not normal. Okay, this huge guy walked by, and I was like, okay, so I'd stand no chance against him. So I would just say, God, just make it quick. That's my strategy. Make it
Oh my
quick for me. I'm like, all right. I know.
Maybe you're a little too immersed in the true crime world, but I have my own versions of that too. So I get what you're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that, because it really does make me feel crazy. And I'm like, I can't help it. I'm just sizing these. Oh, I could take that guy. Oh, I'd probably just do like a chokehold if yeah, not normal.
You need to take a weekend off, take your kids to the park, go to an amusement park or something, and just kind of forget about this stuff.
Yep.
Go watch a rom-com or something.
I know. But you know what? They're not as engaging, I should say. And something else about Randolph as well, why I like to watch this is I'm very fascinated with, and everyone who follows me knows this, with statement analysis and deception and just the way he speaks. Thomas Randolph, you said it perfectly. He is a true narcissist. Everything comes back to him. He's so distanced from his wives when he speaks about them. It's just you can tell, and that is also part of why it's someone like me can really learn from this and learn from horrible people like that.
Yep. I totally agree with you. The way he speaks of the women and when he's given his statements to the police, which make it into the series, you're going to hear these things.
Mm-hmm.
He's disrespectful of these women he supposedly is so deeply in love with. He just speaks about sex and things like that, like as though he's talking about the baseball game he just watched on TV. It's creepy.
Yeah. I totally agree. Well, everybody, you are in for it. So make sure you check it out. It's tonight at 9 p.m. All 3 episodes are going to be out, and then you can catch it after streaming on Max ID. Hulu is where I get mine. So, or, like I said, it's available on the app. But Beth, this has been so much fun. I always love having you on, and I appreciate all of your insights. So we'll have to do this again soon. And I would say I'll put your handles in the episode notes, but you're not really big on Twitter, or I don't think.
Yeah, but I'm going to get better. I promise. On X, I really, you know, I'm showing my age, but like I post on Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. Okay, I'll add your Facebook.
Instagram, but I do Instagram.
Okay,
a little bit.
Perfect. And I will add those handles. You're just not as active on Twitter, but. All right. Well, thank you so much, as always, Beth Karas. And again, everybody needs to catch The Black Widower, The 6 Wives of Thomas Randolph.
It was a pleasure talking to you, Lauren.